Great. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar here today. My name is Rebecca Lee, and I'm the coordinator for online services here at ACCESS Employment. And this is part of our online event series for the month of October. So I just want to welcome everyone here. And I just also wanted to welcome our special guest here today, Daniel. Hi, Daniel. Daniel, say hi to everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, world. And we are going to be talking about building a successful career in the telecommunications industry. So we have a very exciting session ahead. And without getting further ado, I'm going to just get started. Those of you that are logging in for the very first time, I just want to say a very warm welcome to you from all over the world. And those of you that are joining us for many times, thank you so much just for subscribing and for all your support as well. And just a little bit about ACCESS Employment. So we have been around for over 30 years. And we have provided services and programs to job seekers as well as new Canadians. So we do have 5 locations in the Greater Toronto Area and have established over 2,000 plus employee relationships, including TELUS Health, across a variety of sectors and industries as well. ACCESS delivers a variety of sector-specific programs, communications, training, and mentoring programs to our job seekers. And most recently, we started delivering online services, such as this webinar you're listening today, to pre-arrival job seekers all over the world that are approved to land in Canada, as well as our job seekers that are located across Canada. So I'm just going to have Daniel introduce himself, and we'll get on with the featured presentation.
Hi, everyone. My name is Daniel Yeung. I'm currently a director at TELUS Health. My title and my job is as a customer experience strategy and operations. For many of you that are not familiar with the title, what does it mean? I'm responsible for over 200 team members coast to coast across Canada. And I'll go more into detail about what I actually do, our company. And for my introduction, I've been around in the so-called telecommunication industry for over 20 years. I work in customer operations, IT, and marketing from a single contributor roles and also leadership role over the years. And the other thing that is who I am is I spend a lot of time. I'm a very active participant when it comes to volunteering. I support, the mentoring program here in Toronto, and also where I live in the city of Markham. And I run program. I support the city in terms of some of the activities, and internally at work, I'm a big volunteer, and I'm involved in many things over the years. And from an active world to a personal world, I am a big fan of TED Talk. Some of you might have not been a fan of TED Talk, and this is a way for me to learn new ideas. And I listen to TED Talk on a daily basis, 5 days a week for the past probably over 8 years. It's a habit of mine. I travel a lot. I'm from Hong Kong as an immigrant, but I travel all over the world. My interest about into the developing country where I really get to learn the people, the progress, the pace. And I'm also a marathon runner. I'm not a runner, I'm a finisher. I've just finished my 13th marathon this past Sunday. All of them are very difficult, but I'm a very determined person, and always make sure I finish the run.
That's great. So thank you so much, Daniel, for sharing about that. And definitely the marathon finishing is very good.
I use the analogy of marathon is like career, it's like life. When you first started running, you feel good, you feel great. Then when you get to the point that it seems to be okay, you hit 30-kilometer marks, 2+ hours in, it starts getting difficult. You want to stop. Isn't it like finding a job and working, right? There are times that you don't feel like going to work. And to me, marathon running and training is the same thing. I don't like to train every day. And there are times that I feel really tired, I want to stop. But you need to think about why you are doing this. It's always motivating me to keep going. So I use training as the way how I manage my career and day-to-day work too.
Thank you for sharing, Daniel. So why don't you talk a little bit about your personal career journey as well?
Okay. As I said, I 20+ years in telecommunication. So this is sort of my little video to show you that my first job in Canada, I'm a call center agent. I'm a collection agent, and traditional long-distance business. A lot of people don't even know what long-distance anymore, and that's my first job. And then from there, I moved into a reporting analyst that really focused on basic reporting about operation. And where you see the chart here, yellow means a different company, green means TELUS. Then during the long distance evolution and deregulation, and I become an analyst. Then I moved into the wireless mobility business. Again, through the new license, and I get to join a startup called ClearNet. And for a few years, I was in ClearNet. I held 3 analyst roles. I was in reporting, pricing and marketing, and programming in data warehouse. So I sort of, these are all 3 distinct roles. But one thing in common, the role that I do is very much a data-driven. I use data to make decision or support decision. And from there, TELUS bought ClearNet. I took a small break for 6 months. I left TELUS at the time, went to a third-party company called Minex, and I was a business system analyst. I was there to help them build data warehouse, data mart, and reporting tools, and did it for 6 months. And I got a break and opportunity to return to TELUS, and then took my first management job as manager, risk analysis. Again, risk analysis means there's lots of data, lots of analysis. From there, I moved on to a director role to do workforce planning. Basically, at one point, my responsibility, I was managing over 7,000 team members across Canada and overseas in the Philippines in terms of workforce planning. And then from there, I took another turn in my career, moved into what we call business enablement. So my focus at the time focused mainly on program planning and process improvement. It's really about improving organization effectiveness. And then in 2014, I look at my career to look at, okay, where do I go from here? I love working for TELUS. I mean, TELUS has been very good for me. And but I also look at in the long run, I want to make sure that I diversify my experience and skill. So there's an opportunity that I was able to join TELUS Health. And in TELUS Health, I moved from, you can think about an enterprise company that with like 25,000 team members to a smaller division with less than 2,000 team members. So we moved from an enterprise business to much more like a small, medium, or startup. So many things changes, but I was there in the last 3 years. I had 3 different roles, and I moved from being a business enablement director, focused on what I'm really good at. I spent my career in business enablement to start to run operation. I started out with managing 70 people, mostly customer, technician, and support in 2 cities. To now, I recently got extended my responsibilities. I have over 200 team members across the country and a couple team members in the Philippines. So that's sort of my career journey. When you think about where there's some degree of continuity in my career, they're very much about tied to, for my career, data decision making. Every decision, every role that I play, I use data to make logical decisions. But also from a scope perspective, you can see I go from the legacy service of non-distant to wireless, and then move into a context of more general outsourcing. Then in consumer solution, I was supporting wireless and landline business and TV. So they're all connected in many ways. And in TELUS Health, maybe I'll spend a little time to talk about how telecom connect to TELUS Health. Maybe we'll go to the next slide. So this is like a little teaser for you. If you're interested in learning more, I would encourage you to go to YouTube to watch a video our President Paul Lepage or our CEO Darren and Visual about when they talk about TELUS Health, how they actually, why TELUS Health fit into TELUS. But for the little time that we have, maybe I want to do a little infomercial to talk about what is TELUS Health. In terms of our customer, we provide health IT solution to physicians, doctors, to pharmacists. So basically, when you go to see a doctor, you see that electronic medical record system that they use to enter your patient information, or the pharmacist, when you enter your drug information, we provide the system and the support to these providers. We also have customers that are so-called insurers. So basically, in Canada, insurance is very important, either public insurance by the government or private insurance by like Sun Life, Great West Life, Manulife. They are our customer. So we facilitate the claim management aspect. So when the pharmacist or when the chiropractor submit the claims on your behalf, we are the behind the scene that conduct those transactions, connect you to the insurers. And also that we work with the extended healthcare provider, like as I said, chiropractors and massage therapists, dental. So basically, from a traditional mean that you have to submit paper claims, we actually, through innovation, we turn paper claims into electronic claims, expedite the payment, the approval, to make it easier for a patient to receive service from the providers. And also, obviously, patients. We actually do have service that we deal directly with patients. When you think of patient, it's not about sick people. You and I, at one point in our personal life, we are all patients too. So in a way that the reason why this is a connection to TELUS is TELUS serve customer. All customer are patient. TELUS use communication to connect people through wireless or wireline services and device. In the health IT, the key is really turning information into electronic format, is communication. So you can already see that the infrastructure that we build in the telecom side is actually fit right into our TELUS Health ecosystem. And also our doctor or our customer use cell phone, they use wireline services too. You can picture what the synergy between the two. So this is a customer. In terms of services, beside the software that we provide to our customers, we also have service. I mean, some of you are closer to the industry might see that recently TELUS were awarded a big contract to provide electronic prescription to connect doctors to pharmacies. So this is one example when we talk about collaborative health services. There are many other health services that we provide to our customer. We also do home health monitoring. What that really means is remote care. We allow the nurse and the doctor to manage outpatients, so they don't have to make a difficult journey after the emergency visit from home back to the hospital or back to the doctor. So those are the things that, again, use the technology that we have. We're trying to connect between providers and provider to a patient. And the third area of service in our business that we are in, we call it quantifiable health outcome. And you can say that just like in today's world, we talk about big data. There's a lot of data that are being traveled within our cloud, between our providers. And these are data beside looking at replacing paper claim as an example. Our vision is actually to turn the data into insight, to allow our providers, like doctors, to make better health decisions or to be more proactive in terms of providing patient care. So when you think about TELUS Health, these are the three pillars of product and service that we provide to our customer. And definitely, the connection to our telecom business is we are dealing with business right now, business to business, business to consumer. So our vision being the customer first as a #1 priority at TELUS, we really look at our customer to look at, besides telecom, how else can we serve them better and yield better health, better outcome in general. So this is a little bit about TELUS Health for those who are interested. And if you have any more questions, do reach out to me. As I said, do some research online. You'll learn more about health in general in Canada. Okay, so for my formal presentation, I'm going to break it into kind of three-part presentation before we go into Q&A. Part one is really about understanding the industry. Now, many of you probably know the industry more than I am, but I'm giving you this insight from my perspective. This is not about a research firm. This is me. Before I go into different pillars here, one of the things that I really want to emphasize, very important, especially job seeker. A lot of time that when you are looking for a job, you go into looking at what skill I have, what experience I have, and how can I find jobs. But looking for a job is like picking Canada as a country, as your home. You do research about your future home. So before you look for a job, it's important that you really understand the context of the industry. That you need to ask yourself the question, is this the place I want to be? don't just fixate on is there a job there. So from that perspective, I hope that I give you some insight in terms of how you break down the different perspective when you do research in the industry. In the telecom industry, or similar to health, regulatory condition is very important for you to know. If you are a job seeker that look at fast change, and you come from, let's say, India, you come from the United States, you come from China, the speed of change, the rate of change is very different because we all have different regulations. So it's important for you to know that yes, how it works in Canada. So from a telecommunications standpoint, our regulatory body moving towards a lot of policy decision and changes are really about pro-consumer. We want to introduce changes in, as an example, contract terms. Like we used to have 3-year contract. When you leave the contract, you pay penalties. Now we're from 3 years to 2 years. There's a lot of changes that we made that really forced telecommunication company to introduce more customer-friendly condition. We also want to increase a lot of access to service. As a business, everyone want to build a business in highly dense populated environment, but our regulatory body to make sure that we provide service every corner in Canada, and also they want to make sure that we continue to push lower price and better service to our customer, including privacy. Privacy is really important. If you look at the privacy law that's changing in the United States versus in Canada, and we do really want to be mindful of what you can do in a different country might not be the same case in Canada. So when you go through the interview and talk about what you have done, it's important you understand the context in Canada. Technology, like the rest of the world, data. So from that perspective, if you are into a technical field, you want to understand that yes, we continue as an industry to invest a lot of money in driving the bandwidth and spectrum expansion, but also we're investing in a lot of technology. If you're really technical into how to actually make our technology to better than dealing with data. It's like a compression of data to make it faster and easier to transport between cell towers or whatnot. From a product perspective, in an industry, because wireless, they're dominated by a few major companies like Apple, Samsung, and there's not, between companies, there's not a lot of product differentiation anymore. But what you're hearing a lot about is service as a product, customer service innovation, customer experience, rather than saying that we sell iPhone, well, everyone sell iPhone. We are now focusing a lot on the actual customer experience. Why would people pay for your service when I can get it elsewhere? So I'm going to spend a little bit time about customer experience later. Pricing. That's another aspect that you want to understand in the telecommunication area. Wireless substitution, people are moving away from wireline traditional voice into wireless. There's a lot of downward pressure in terms of pricing. So what that really means, if I put it in a layman term, is it's getting more and more difficult to make money because of pricing pressure in our service. So that if every decision and investment that we make, employers tend to look for more for less. What else can you do to make sure that we manage our margin better? Because we're not from the traditional landline, 80 and 90% margin business. It's so easy to make money 10 years ago. It's getting more difficult now. So that's pricing context, both from consumer market, and also from an operating context that you need to understand. Support, lots of businesses are moving toward the sales service and omni-channel support, partly because when you make the investment, it's cheaper because customers stop calling you, they do self-service, it's good. But if you are in a call center environment, knowing that we are investing a lot in self-service and omni-channel, you think about, well, how do you differentiate yourself to continue to stay in call center business when we're trying to push self-serve? But the other thing that is we also focus a lot on the multicultural customer channel. And as Canada, we have 300,000 new immigrants every year. and first-generation immigrant had kids, and then you think about the mix of population here. There's an increased demand for providing better support to the multicultural market here. So again, so don't think of it as lack of Canadian experience as a disadvantage. Understanding your own market is an absolute advantage in the marketplace today. Okay. So I talk about a bit of the industry context. Then I go into the next level about employees. As a hiring director, I'm a hiring manager. I hire people. So one of the things that I've seen over the last more of a 3 years, more so than the first 3 that I was in the job market, I'm starting to see a lot of the traditional skill set versus our called complementary skill set. In the past, when we're in the call center, either customer service or technical support, we only hire people that do customer service. We hire people that do customer support or technical support. In sales, you hire salespeople. So basically, a lot of job that we have is kind of in a traditional mindset, is very well defined. What we are seeing now is having a single skill set that you're really good at is not sufficient. We need to keep up with the market. The market is moving very fast, partly because our customer base are getting with different type of customer base. We have to deal with the millennials, the impatient. We also have to deal with the customer demand. You know, the faster speed that you offer, the more they feel that what you offer is slow. Think about dial-up service or transformational to today. So now what we are looking for from an employer standpoint, we're looking for individuals that possess multiple discipline and skill set, but also sometimes they have to continue to invest in their own skill set. So it's always good to invest in a second language. When you do the project management planning, a lot of concept they call waterfall planning, basically a sequential way of do planning, take a month or two. Your plan is for 36 months, it's very rigid. People are looking into agile. How do you see results faster? How do you actually move toward an iterative environment? And when you think about inside-out planning, how do I do? I know my product. Design thinking now is the big things in the market. Customer-centric planning, design. It's not about design for the product, design for the customer. And legal, I purposely put legal here. One of our senior vice presidents talked about even for lawyers. We're expecting lawyers to be technical. We're expecting lawyers to understand what is big data. Why? Privacy. How can corporate lawyer enable business if they don't understand in the technical world? Now data is not on paper anymore. So there's a strong demand here for this profession to learn beyond what they traditional study in their academic background. So those are things what I'm trying to illustrate here. It's just example of depending on where you come from, you might already have 1 or 2 core skills. But it's important for you to really understand what is the market condition, what are the customer expectations, what type of complementary skill that I need to continue to develop to make myself continue to be relevant to the market. Okay, so quickly swim into part 2, managing a personal career. This is a bit of my personal journey. And also a bit of, I steal some of the TELUS way of managing career. So I will speak to one of the things about, you always look at your career in terms of setting goal. And I will always advise people to look at things in terms of short-term and long-term goals. Don't look at things in terms of a single dimension in terms of what are my next goal, because you will always have to manage about what is important to you today. As an analogy, if you are looking for a job, your priority is to find a job. So the developmental goal that you have should be focusing on refining your job searching skill so that you get the outcome better, faster. So that if you're already, let's say, if you're in a call center agent position, I'm listening to call every day. If I'm dealing with customer service, customer inquiry every day, short-term developmental goals should be how can I develop better skill or new skill that make myself better, so I can differentiate myself to do my job more efficiently or effectively. And so that once I differentiate myself, my chance of getting opportunity for more work on next job is higher. The other aspect of short-term goal is it should really be something that you can measure and your friends, your mentor can observe. Why? Because setting goal is very important. If you don't have a means to measure and observe your progress, everything go by feeling. You don't know how well you do because you can't judge yourself. It's only if someone from the external eyes can see, yeah, I'm seeing changes. I'm recognizing those changes. And the other thing is, spend 80% of developmental time on your short-term goal, not on long-term, because you get the instant result right away. Again, everything short-term should be geared toward making you better and also build better credibility today. But I always tell people though, yes, well, don't ignore the long-term goal. Let's say your long-term goal is 5 years from now. I can wait. Well, guess what? Like the telecommunication industry, health industry, 5 years is not a long time. Before you know it, you are there. So I always tell people that as a discipline, to make sure you set aside time, I use the random 10%. 10% of your time that you really have to spend time on developing things that you need to help you with a long-term goal. As an example, I call it strategic networking. So yesterday, we had the networking training, which is phenomenal because when I call strategic networking is today when you meet someone that will help you do your job better. It's relationship building, but also it's tactical because it's transactional. You help me to do my job, that's why we talk. Strategic networking is when you do the research, you anticipate by the time that you're ready for the next job, these are the people will be there to help you. When you start building your brand for today and for tomorrow, it's also different because keep in mind, it's almost as if before you come to Canada, strategic networking is who are the people in Canada that you should start meeting and building relationship with. But they don't necessarily help you to do your job today. But who are the people that you have to, what type of skill set that you need to learn gradually, but you know that you don't get to use it for the next 5 years, cold storage. So you would never try to build a skill set that in 2 months and then set it aside for the next 5 years. So those are things when I think about long-term is build something is like investing in your children's education. It's a 12 to 15 years of investment. Think long-term. And the other thing that I talked about already, anticipate your skill and experience that is needed in the future. Most of the time that you're exposed to is what is immediate. It's very difficult for anyone to anticipate the future. So the great device that I have is about finding a mentor, finding someone that's not immediate in the market, someone that has been around for a long time or in a different industry, give you perspective so that you have a different frame of reference. And otherwise, your prediction will likely be wrong, like any other people that predict 3 years from now the telecom market. No one can predict the future. But what the things that you can do is by doing strategic networking, by talking to different people, you'll get a lot of insight. And establish a learning habit. To me, I talked about it already. It's like running. This is a marathon, it's not a sprint. Because you know that marathon training is 4 months for 3 hours, 4 hours. And you don't get through that in a couple of runs. You have to slowly build up your mileage. Think is long-term career planning. Don't expect return right away. Don't rush. What you should be rushing to learn is a short-term goal, not your long-term. And I've already talked about set aside 10%. I'll give you some of the personal habit I have in terms of my short-term and long-term. Sitting here next to Rebecca is my short-term planning. I told her before that I'm deadly afraid of public speaking. I don't do that. I'm an introvert, and for years that I shine away from speaking to people in groups. One-on-one I'm good at. That's a classic introvert. One-on-one intimate relationship as opposed to speak openly in a group. But as I look at my job today, I have over 200 team members across the country. The only mean for me to connect with my team member is to do a lot of a group session, both on written communication or video or face-to-face town hall session. So in order for me to really get comfortable in front of my team, I focus on my short-term development. So I don't say no to speaking engagement. This is probably the biggest one I have attended. And I do a lot of different career sessions internally within TELUS. And I volunteer in other, as I say, the city of Markham. Through volunteering, and when I'm working for a good cause, I will have to deal with a lot of different people. Really help me overcome the fear of talking to strangers, the fear of talking at groups. And so that's my short-term goal. I'm able to identify what it is that I need to do my job, but I integrate that into not just my job, into my volunteering activity. So I call it win-win, as opposed to just focus on go to school and learn how to talk to people. I look at everything that I do. How do I change the way I do things to improve my short-term goal? Long-term goal, another example I give you is I'm a big coffee drinker, and don't want to promote any brand, but there's certain app that I have for a company. I only buy coffee at that company during connection meeting with people, because I make my own coffee. I don't drink outside. So that coffee app is the way for me to remind myself, when was the last time I paid for someone else's coffee? Over the years, I spent lots of money with this company because I had connection meeting. And each connection meeting lead me to the next person that I meet. And I have met some great people. There are people that have zero connection to my job. But over the last 3 years, I have met some phenomenal people that were within and outside the industry. And now some of the people on the call today that actually are people that I met over coffee. So those are the things that is my long-term investment in coffee, in this case, and help me build my network for things that I do today. But a lot of the investment I made is dated back into 5, 8 years ago. It's a consistent habit that I built, but over time, the great device is when you buy someone a coffee, they owe you one. So think about the concept. And so that over time that I really have enough coffee breaks and I expand my network, and a lot of those networks really help me succeed in my job today that I didn't see I would be here 5 years ago.
Thank you so much for sharing about that, Daniel. And I just think it's just so important just to keep fighting through and just even facing your fears. And you, even sitting here with me today, we wouldn't be able to tell that you were afraid of public speaking. But I think that that's a great example that you provided. Mm-hmm. So now we're just going to go into some success stories that you're going to be sharing.
Yeah, I'm excited to share a couple of success stories with you, and I'm disappointed to say that both of my colleagues, they have some last-minute commitment. They couldn't make it to this call, but I put the names here, so if you want to connect with them through LinkedIn, feel free to do so. David Garcia, so I'll give you the context and background and the things that he wanted me to share with you. David, he came to Canada in 2004 from Spain. And his background was in marketing and web development in California. So you can see the commonality. There's a telecommunication company, and he worked for TELUS right now. But things that you don't know is really about in between the background to current responsibility, what he did to get to where he is. Well, he came here for school while he was furthering his study and a master's degree in an MBA. And from there, and he joined TELUS. But instead of jumping into TELUS and do what he used to do, he started out as a project manager. He has some background, but that's really about when you think about he took a step down to in a different role. And as he progressed, because he has a very strong foundation, he learned how to relate his experience in his past life into TELUS. Very quickly, he moved from project manager to manager, managing PMO, to director. And in director, the role that he played today had nothing to do with his background. He's in the customer operation. He's running a team to do business intelligence reporting, enable decision making. After years of doing project management, he has to spend time managing workforce management, one of the jobs that I have. But what he really wants to look at is, instead of sticking to what he's really good at, what he studied, he looked at the industry, he pivoted career to look at how do I go from one discipline to the next. So David is a very good success story from a career perspective. And when I talked to him, when I interviewed him, what would be his greatest challenge? He said, well, understand the cultural etiquette. Because you know what, he said, well, European is very different from Canadian. He said in English, there's a lot of word in English that has double meanings. When he used a funny story, he talked about when people say interesting. Well, he didn't get it. Interesting is interesting, but the hidden meaning sometimes. Interesting means it could be a stupid idea, but he didn't get it at the beginning. So it took him time to really understand that. But that was something that he would say, share with people that is, you know what, don't take things from face value. They're often the hidden meaning. But then how do you overcome it is by talking to people, by asking questions. And the advice that he offered to all of you here, he talked about really being an active participant in a non-job function. Info session, lunch and learn, and volunteering. I'll give you an example of what David is doing. He is one of our executive sponsors for a group internally to TELUS called Mosaic. What that really means, Mosaic, TELUS support diversity. Mosaic is an organization that basically is managed by a group of volunteers within TELUS. They are all mostly have some kind of, I guess, an immigrant background. How do we promote diversity in the workplace? How do we support each other? So David is one of the executive sponsors for that organization. So that because what he went through, the difficult time that he has in terms of transitioning from Spain to Canada, now he is giving back within the organization. But just like what I talked about earlier, being the sponsor for that organization, allowing to branch out his leadership skill, because now he's leading people that are not in a job context. So those are things that are, David definitely is a good success story. I mean, look him up in LinkedIn, send him a personal message if you want to talk to him. Sid is one of my team members, actually. He's a business consultant. He's more recent. He joined Canada only in 2010 from India. Software development, like I would say that Sid, like many of you that has a lot of like master level study, he is a master in software development and he is really good at what he does. First coming to Canada, he basically said, well, it's really difficult to find a job. So he found a job as a programmer in a very small company. It's almost as if from responsibility perspective, he took a step down to become a programmer. And he told me that is, well, when he found out about how much he get paid as a developer here in Canada versus some of his family and friends, how much they get paid in the United States, oh, that's a big gap. He really had to figure out what is the right decision. Is money or family or culture that he wants? And he decided he liked the culture that he has here. He feels that it's better to have his children in Canada. So instead of going after for more money in the United States, he have decided to stay in Canada. But when he made a decision, he also thought about this, well, software development from a trend perspective, well, will eventually move to India and maybe China, maybe some of the developing country. He cannot be in development all his life here in Canada. So he started thinking about how do I pivot my career, knowing I already have my first job. So he applied for a job at TELUS as a business analyst. And the role that he applied for had nothing to do with technical work, had nothing to do with his background. So he spent a lot of time researching TELUS. He learned about the industry, where we're going. He also spent a lot of time trying to relay his experience back home or the short stint in Canada into TELUS. So I met him through interview, actually. I put him through a business case. I must tell you, I have never seen someone from a pure technical background ace a business case that had just pure business. But he was able to articulate his thought process. It's not outstanding presentation. He said, what is transferable is my mind. He was able to articulate the way he go about problem solving in that business case. It showed that like problem solving is transferable. So that we took a chance to hire him. Right now, he moved from the, as I said, software development into the operation to run program. Then he actually moved back to IT to become a Scrum Master and get his project management certification. And recently, he joined TELUS Health with me as a business consultant back to the business. So we can see that there's a mindset of continuous learning, but he incrementally, he continued to acquire the new and relevant skill set that he needs to do well in TELUS. And his greatest challenge that he told me was, it's really the transition from a technical world to the business world. And he talked about that, yes, the language is different. But then he was very quickly, through research with TELUS, knowing TELUS is a customer first organization, during the practice, he wanted to make sure that he connect everything he knows into the customer so that he kind of overcome the challenge about the traditional barrier. He speak in terms of customer, in terms of outcome for the customer. So that everything that I do is how we act, how we impact customer, so that we see him as that he can connect the dots, so he will have a successful transition. The advice that he gave to everyone is definitely he is a very humble individual, and don't be afraid to ask for help. But the thing that he wants me to highlight here is not none of this be ready to adopt and whatnot. He said one thing just yesterday to me. He said, Daniel, make sure you tell people about that is when someone comes to you and asks you to do more work, asks you for help, don't say no. Because he said, people don't give you more work if they don't trust you. People don't give you opportunity to learn if they don't trust you. If someone already comes to you and gives you an opportunity, seemingly it's not within your scope or responsibility, seemingly that it might contradict what you need to do. But if you want to learn, want to grow, someone needs to open the door for you. So he said to me that yes, it's like anyone that before I had a job, I'm trying to volunteer. Why? I work for free because they give me an opportunity to learn. So while you're working, if someone gives you an opportunity to do more, don't say no, because people are opening doors for you. That's why I want to make sure that I share with all of you here. That's why one of the things that's important that is volunteer is so important. Both with TELUS is a big believer in volunteering, and because of that, it's just not about giving back. It's also open doors for you too. So some of the key takeaway that I try to make it really feel short point because I can easily give you 50 of them. Take time to self-examine your skill, your experience. But in a general context, I would say that yes, always set aside time to reflect on yourself and be honest to yourself. I understand that when you're looking for a job, you always need to show people that your shining moment. But when you close the door, you need to be honest with yourself. And maybe even find a mentor, find someone that knows you to be able to keep you honest. That's very important because we tend to focus on what we're good at, but we don't see our blind spot. The reason is they are blind spot. Take the time to self-examine and validate with people that know you. Stay connected with the market and industry trend. While I say 80% of the time you're doing your job, trying to earn a living, trying to get to the next promotion, you invest in your time to understand the trend in industry because you don't want to work in an industry, in a company that's not doing well. You want to make sure that the industry and the company are growing at the pace that you want. It's like investment. Whether you want to invest in high-risk portfolio or dividend, safe and dividend, depending on where you are in your career, make sure you take the time to stay connected with the business and the industry you are in or the industry that you want to be in. And as I said earlier, 80% of time should be focused on short-term goal. What that really means is everyone tells us what they're working on. Make sure that you distinguish between what is short-term, what is long-term. Okay? And then once you understand what is short and long-term, establish a habit. And this is very important. It should not be episodic. I'm a strong believer of not having New Year resolution. I say it here because if you know where you're going, why do you reset your resolution every year? It should be a continuation to figure out when is the right milestone to reevaluate whether you're still going to the right direction. So from that perspective, establish a habit that is not a 1 month, 2 months, a lifetime habit in my mind.
All right. So thank you so much, Daniel, for just giving us such an informative webinar today and just really providing us a lot of good examples as well as personalized sharing.